Hello, it's Martin here. I'm at the Birmingham Conservatoire, which is in Birmingham. And I'm with two guys here that spend a lot of time. It's Peter Newton, who is here.
Hello.
And I've got Matt O'Malley on the other side.
Hello.
So guys, what do you do? Let's go to Matt first. What do you do here at the Conservatoire?
So my job role here is studio manager, and the Conservatoire has 7 studios altogether.
Right.
So there's quite a lot of recording facilities and lots of recording activity that goes on here. So I kind of manage those facilities, and I suppose in some ways I'm the in-house music producer for recordings and things that go on.
Okay, and Peter, what do you get up to here?
So I'm actually a research student, so I'm doing my PhD on the sonic identity of Jeff Lynne. So I work with Matt quite closely looking at the Richard Tandy archive, and we've worked on various projects here at the Conservatoire. I spend a lot of my time looking and reading through various books and listening to music.
Okay, so this PhD, that must involve doing a lot of research and interviewing various members of ELO?
Yes, it does. I've been very fortunate to interview many members of ELO and the wider sort of music sound that's come out of the West Midlands from that sort of time period, the late 1960s, the 1970s, and even into the 80s.
All right, sounds like a fascinating project. I look forward to seeing the end result.
So do I.
All right. So, Matt, how long has this been the Conservatoire? Because it was, what was it before the Conservatoire?
Well, the Conservatoire has a long history. I think it might be like 1896 when it started as a school of music, somewhere in the middle of the city centre. We then had the Conservatoire from about 1969 to 2017, occupied a building right near the town hall, and I was lucky to be still working here. Well, since 2001 I've been working here, so I was one of the technical development managers for this new building that we're sitting in now, which opened in September 2017.
Okay. And when I was talking to Bill Hunt recently, who was an original ELO member, he said he used to come here when it was the Birmingham School of Music.
That's right, yeah.
Do you know of any other musicians that have passed through that same way?
Well, keeping the link going with the ELO theme, Mike Stevens, who is was Jeff Lynne's musical director.
Yeah.
He studied here as when it was the School of Music in the late 70s. So yeah, that's the only other person I know.
Yeah.
Louis Clark.
Louis Clark Jr. Yeah, he studied here.
There's a great bunch of musicians, aren't they? Yeah, but Mike Stevens, who is, they've got their own band together now called Big Horizon. And
fabulous band, fabulous musicians.
And they played here in 2025 at a Richard Tandy tribute night.
They did, yeah.
I was quite surprised to see you standing up there on the stage at the guitar. That was a bit of a privilege.
It was a privilege and a kind of a highlight of my life, really, to play with those guys. I mean, I've known Mike for a number of years because he's come and done some masterclasses here, and as a follow-on from the Tandy archive that we acquired, I wanted to organise a tribute concert, and I spoke to Mike and said, would you and the lads be on board with it? And they said they'd love to, and from there it just developed and grew into this amazing night that included not only those guys on stage, but we had ex-members of ELO coming to sit in the audience with us, who joined us to celebrate the life of Richard Tandy, and the pinnacle of Bev Bevan actually joining us on the drums for that final
was a lovely surprise on the night. I was just trying to think of the track. Was it Rock Aria? Yeah, that was an excellent night. And you enjoyed that?
It was an incredible night. I was sat there watching all of it in its glory. It was phenomenal sounding. We also had members of the Conservatoire joining on stage for the choir and for the orchestra as well.
Yeah. So you look quite young to me. I'm sure you don't really remember the ELO, do you, from the time?
Well, I am a lot younger than ELO, but I have grown up with the music of ELO. I've had it played to me as a child, and had a real connection with ELO all of my life.
Yeah. So we just mentioned that concert. That was a tribute to Richard Tandy. And that was held here to make people aware of the Richard Tandy studio, not studio. Well, tell us more about it, what I'm trying to say.
Well, yeah, so there was a number of aspects that kind of came from the sad passing of Richard, really. Sheila, his wife, kind of got a message to me just before he passed away to say that she'd spoken to Richard about his instruments and things that he'd got at home, and said, what would you like to do with them? What would you like to happen to them? And Richard had said that, to speak to Matthew at the Conservatoire to see if they could make use of them. Unbeknownst to me, it was more than just a couple of instruments. When we were eventually invited around to the house to have a look through, there was a wonderful archive. There was suitcases full of stage clothes that he'd worn throughout the years, boxes and boxes of memorabilia, tour diaries, handwritten studio notes. So to be able to kind of see some of their workings out for chords, for songs off Out of the Blue and things like that, it was like, wow, and Sheila was like, if you want it, and you can make use of it. And I was kind of then thinking, I've met Peter, here's somebody who's doing research into ELO. This is going to be a fabulous treasure chest of information. So to get to the point about the concert, when we were handed this archive, which was wonderful in itself, there was also a cash donation to set up a scholarship fund in Richard's name. And so we set that up, which will help support musicians. It's like a hardship fund, for those musicians who want to come and study at the Conservatoire, who may not consider it because of the costs of living and the cost of studying music. It is particularly hard for musicians because of the amount of hours that they dedicate to practice and study, that it's hard to kind of do that and hold down part-time jobs and things like that. So it is particularly hard for musicians to support themselves through a music degree. So this scholarship fund was set up that would help encourage some students to apply and be funded for their first year. And then, of course, because of that cash donation, we had this archive, and we thought we've got to kind of set up a dedicated space where we can display the gold records and things and create an inspirational room. And then it was, I knew Richard briefly a few times. I'd met him a few times, which is how he kind of came to mention me in seeing if the Conservatoire would be interested in his stuff. And I thought it just seemed right that we do something musically to honour his contribution to the ELO history. We know that he was an integral part to the studio work that Jeff obviously painstakingly worked on for all those years. We knew that Richard was always there by his side, and it seemed right that we do something as a musical tribute. And that's when it came to asking Mike Stevens whether the band would come and play with the Conservatoire musicians and do a joint effort in putting some music together and celebrating that life.
I mean, of all the ELO members over the years, Richard was the only one really that stayed with Jeff up until the time when he became poorly. Yeah. And I believe Jeff made a donation as well, didn't he?
Yeah, that was really good. All along through it, from the donation from Sheila, I'd contacted Craig Fruin, Jeff's manager, and said, we've been gifted this wonderful donation from Richard, and we let Jeff know that basically we were dedicating a room, because Jeff is an honorary doctor of our university as well, and that's how I met Jeff the first time and got to interview him. So I knew that Jeff would know and appreciate that we were doing this for his friend Richard as well. And so when Jeff was doing his final nights for the Over and Out tour last year, Jeff's management phoned me and said we'd like to run like a raffle and put up some tickets, front row tickets, at each of the UK nights, and they would hand over the donations from that auction of tickets to the fund, and they raised, I think, after little bits of siphoning off of exchange rates and things like that, it was something like £28,000 that was really a direct donation from Jeff's.
So the official name for it is the Richard Tandy Production Suite, is that right?
The Richard Tandy Production Suite and the Richard Tandy Scholarship Fund.
Okay, and Peter, you must find all this fascinating. It's going to be really useful for you with your PhD.
Yeah, it's incredible. All of the artifacts that are in the Richard Tandy collection can be used in some way for research. And it's not just me. We have other students that are even saying to Matt in the corridors and the lifts, saying about what have we got, and wow, it's amazing. And just looking at students' faces when they open the door and they see right in front of them, you've got this wall of gold records shining. Is really quite inspiring for them, and it creates quite a nice environment. But I've used things from the archive for research all the way through since Matt first showed me the studio notes, even down to the gold records themselves. They tell you which country and how many records were sold. They're ways to sort of check your facts against the internet, which nowadays can sometimes be a bit ropey, especially with AI. You can look at the physical item and see Denmark 1981, this is how many they sold. Even the photos show us the specific gear that they're using on tour or in the studio, which helps us analyze the different sounds that we're hearing on the records. Yeah, it's all really useful.
Did you start your work before the production suite idea came along, or did you start doing it after?
Well, I started it around the same time that this was all happening. So me and Matt were introduced when I started my first year of study, and Matt told me about the recent donation that had happened, but there wasn't the production suite. And actually, me and Matt, between us, looked at the production suite, and Matt sort of suggested where things went, and between us we sort of built it
together. Yeah,
we did, yes. And it's still standing, and it's it's a really good tribute to Richard and his legacy, and it's really inspiring for a lot of students.
And it's given you the opportunity to speak to some of the ex-members of the band.
It has, yes. I've taken many ex-members around the production suite, members of not just ELO but the wider sort of Birmingham, West Midlands music scene, and we've asked questions and discussed things, looked at things, and a lot of people turn around and say, "Oh, I've got that at home," or "I've got one of those in the loft," or but it's not just the members. We've had the family of some of the members that have passed. So Rob Grocott has been round. I've taken him round, and we've had a look at things and discussed things. It's brought back really nice memories, and they're all quite happy that the legacy is not just for Richard, but it's all of the ELO team and the wider sort of Birmingham network. We're celebrating teamwork in the Richard Tandy production suite.
And you brought a few of the ex-members up here on the night of the concert.
I did, yes. I brought several members up and showed them round, and we discussed about how the different things are being used for research. And on the night we also had an exhibit downstairs outside of the Bradshaw Hall, and that featured some of Richard's items that are not on display in the production suite. Some various strange and unusual items that you wouldn't expect. So we had a beer keg, didn't we, from one of the tours. There was some tour t-shirts, Richard's
frisbees.
Yeah, frisbees. One of them's glow in the dark, one of the frisbees. Unusual collection.
Yeah, I can't say I've ever played frisbee in the dark, but I suppose it's always the first time. So you were aware of the history of before ELO? You were aware of the move and the idol race?
Yeah, and all that? Well, so my parents are of that rock and roll generation, so I was kind of brought up on rock and roll, and then I've got two older brothers. So my first memories of ELO are actually my brother coming home on a Saturday morning after his paper round, and he'd use his paper round money to go and buy singles. And he came home with Sweet Talking Woman. And that's my first kind of memory of oh, what's this? You know, and you look at the Jet label, and the Jet label's an interesting thing to look at, and you know, it's this yellow thing with the lights on it and the Jet word, and it's kind of, listen to this record, and then it'd be like, oh, I bought this one 2 weeks ago as well. This was Mr. Blue Sky, and he put that on. And it's just memories from those days of being introduced to ELO, and then throughout the years, then I was a bit too young to go to the Time Tour concert, but my brothers went to that in the snow, the famous snowed out 1981 show at the NEC. So yeah, I kind of grew up with that music and loved it. So first meeting Jeff, when he was given his honorary doctorate, I just, starstruck really, meeting this musical hero. And it was through meeting Jeff actually that I got to meet Richard the first time as well, when he was given his Walk of Fame award. Richard was there, and I introduced myself to Richard, being from the Conservatoire, and there I'd interviewed Jeff and everything. So, and I felt then that I could converse with Richard really quite well and got on well with him. So yeah, that's where that kind of connection started. So yeah, I've definitely been aware of ELO most of my life.
So you saw ELO when Dave Scott Morgan was a member then at the NEC?
I didn't, but my brothers did.
Oh, right.
Yeah. No, my first actual ELO concert was when they came back in 2015 or whatever.
Oh, yeah. And you've actually ended up playing with Dave Scott Morgan in his band, haven't you?
I've played with Dave many times, yeah, because that was the day that Jeff had his Walk of Fame. That was the first time I met Dave as well.
Yeah.
And I think Dave was looking at me, kind of, who's this character hanging around talking to Richard and stuff. But I started to have a chat with Dave and his wife Mandy, and we started to kind of talk music and things like that. And then there was a project that followed that that was kind of marking the anniversary of the Birmingham pub bombings, that I worked with Dave on a video edit, and some students from the Conservatoire accompanied Dave with his original 21 Today composition then that was performed at the Town Hall. And I got to meet Bevan and Richard Tandy at that event as well. So periodically I was always kind of bumping into them.
Yeah.
And then myself and Dave developed a good relationship then musically. We've both loved the Beatles.
Yeah.
And we've played together doing Beatle numbers. And I've worked with Dave a lot on kind of co-productions of stuff with Dave's albums and music, and still work with Dave now.
So back to you, Peter. In your research, you must have had to gone back to bands even further away, like The Move and The Idle Race. And you've listened to their recordings?
Yes, yeah.
What do you think of The Move, for example?
Well, The Move, you could say, is two very different bands in itself.
I've always thought that, yeah. The original lineup, and then there was a couple of changes, and then you ended up with Jeff, Bev and Roy, basically. It was like a totally different band.
It was almost completely different sonically. I've always known the music, even before I started the PhD. I was a big fan of the Idle Race as a teenager. I used to love playing through the Idle Race songs on my guitar. One of my favourites was Girl at the Window. I used to love that. Again, referencing the Beatles, one of Jeff's musical heroes that he got to work with. And so The Move and the Idle Race have always been in my sort of radar. And I've been really impressed with sort of the sounds, especially compared to what else was happening. I mean, The Move could be considered the first punk rock band, especially with their live appearances and the hard edge and the driving rock to some of the songs that they're doing. And it's been really great journey, sort of exploring in depth these musical heroes of mine, and being able to meet some of them and ask them questions on what their experiences have been has been incredible.
Yeah, you were telling me that you managed to speak to Greg Masters.
I did, yes. We had a lovely chat, and we discussed his career and his thoughts on Jeff, and his thoughts on Jeff's music, and how great a songwriter Jeff was. In fact, everyone has said how great Jeff's songs are, and I don't think anyone would disagree with that. Yeah. Certainly not with the amount of records that we've got on display in the production suite next door.
Yeah. And have you managed to speak to Dave and Roger as well?
Yes, I've spoken to Dave and Roger, and we've discussed their sort of working relationships within the bands and how the music scene developed and all of the things they loved about being in the Idle Race, and who wouldn't. And again, they have great admiration for Jeff, and as a songwriter, he's up there. And they've all been lovely people. They're really nice people.
I know you've spoken to me about hopefully you're speaking to Ace Cafford one day.
Yes, hopefully.
You missed him on the night of the concert. You didn't manage to catch him, but I'll see if I can help you out with that.
That'll be fantastic.
Yeah,
it was a bit of a chaotic night, wasn't it? We had a lot going on.
It was a very good night. Did it all go to plan as you hoped?
Yeah, it did, and it was I think it was an incredible night. As Peter was saying, we had to organise. We spent ages putting together the exhibition that was outside as well, which was a lovely introduction before going into the hall, and it was. I think even some feedback via email afterwards. Fans that couldn't really believe that we got that many people of the ex-members all together in the same room at the same time, and to do that music, and it was quite an achievement.
It was a real celebration celebration of all of them, and the music, and Richard, and I think it was a great night. Was it filmed?
It was, yes. Yeah.
And are there any plans for it to be shown anywhere? Or?
It's a difficult one because there are obviously sensitivities around copyright, the sensitivities around GDPR kind of stuff with students being visible on screen to the public. So we have an archive recording of it, and there may be something that we can look at doing in terms of promotion. Because that isn't the end. That can't be the end of this thing to do with ELO. So we're looking, what can we do next? What's going to happen next with the archive? Could we do musically in the future again? And there's certainly things that we can do with the video to use it as a promotional tool. So we'll look at that.
Yeah, it could be a way of raising some more funds in the future.
That's it. Yeah, we don't want to give away too many things for free.
No.
When actually there's the scope here for we want to keep the scholarship alive. We've got it's something like £42,000 in the scholarship fund as it is, but we need to raise more to make it sustainable in perpetuity. It's at the rate that it is, even with that sounds like a healthy sum. As students draw down on it every year, it will disappear unless we can get it over a certain threshold, which then it could just run and run and run. It would be a forever scholarship fund.
Yeah, I mean, is there a way that anybody can donate?
There is a Just Giving link available online that people can make donations to, yes.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find that and put it up on the links.
Absolutely, yeah.
Appreciate that. So what do the students think of it? Because I presume some of them, if not a lot of them, have never heard of Richard. They probably know of ELO, but maybe not the band members' name.
I think the best you could have hoped for was that most of them had heard of Mr. Blue Sky.
Yes, that's the one that's...
The next thing they would have heard of would have been Jeff Lynne, and probably wouldn't know Richard. But I think it's an education for them as well, that he was in that band that produced that song that I know so well.
Yes.
And of course we have a lot of students here from the Far East as well, so we've got the Chinese and things that you'd think, Mr. Blue Sky might have reached that part of the world, but not a lot of the other kind of records. So it was... We had some really good feedback from the student performers that were involved in the night, but I can also see on the video the faces of the people playing, and it's like they're enjoying this, and it's a good different experience to they do all their studies for kind of classical music, or those that are doing a jazz course, they're working in that vein, but to work with a rock band and to be supporting that kind of music, albeit a classically orientated rock band with Jeff's and compositions and Louis' string arrangements. They're fantastic orchestrations. That must have been a great experience for them.
So the whole idea of the Richard Tandy production suite is to show the students this is what can be done if you.
I suppose the music industry is quite different now, isn't it? But it is. It's an inspirational space, and I think that's the impression people get when they walk in there. To have this wall of gold and platinum discs on the wall, it's still inspirational, even though the industry has changed of how people achieve those kinds of levels of success. Having the instruments from the historical instruments, so the Moog from 1972, the Roland Junos that were Richards from the mid-80s,
the MC500.
The MC500, yeah, from the early 90s, the kind of thing, the original way of kind of sequencing things with MIDI. Actually, it kind of shows how hard making music was in those days, you know, trying to find the right sound. It was lots of kind of analog turning buttons to kind of tweak stuff. And imagine, like, you know, looking through the studio notes, and there are some notes there about Moog settings for certain songs.
In Richard's tour diaries, he talks about different songs where he has to set them to different settings and what he likes and what he doesn't. And we can also use that for research for students as well.
So as a musician, you must find that fascinating as well.
I do, yeah. I mean, well, my instrument is guitar, and I know that Richard loved guitar as well. You know, obviously is credited on a few albums having played rhythm guitar, and famously, you know, amongst ELO people they know, he recorded the lick for Strange Magic on his Fender Strat, and that was a big thrill for me on the night of playing that part on the very guitar that Richard played it on in the studio. So yeah, as a guitarist, I think it was said on the night as well in the pre-concert talk of what a fabulous guitarist Richard was. He's obviously known as a keyboard player in ELO, but he made a lovely sound on the guitar.
Yes, I've never really thought of Richard as a guitarist, but you're right. Certainly in the early days.
Yeah.
Are you a musician yourself, Peter?
I am a musician, yes. I'm a saxophonist mainly.
Oh, yeah.
So it doesn't really fit with the ELO theme. There's only 2 tracks that have saxophone on, and they're both on Balance of Power. But I think I can play a guitar to a sort of okay degree, and a bit of piano as well. So I can appreciate the skill of Richard and all the other players. And the parts are really tricky in some specific cases. They are really quite tough to play. And I think Richard just has this ease. If you watch any of the videos back, any of the Rockplast or any of the sort of promotional videos they do, Richard makes it look easy. He just does it. And that's a skill in itself.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think back to when Roy Wood was in ELO, in their early set before Roy left. He did play saxophone on one track, and I'm trying to think what it was. I think they used to do a version of Great Balls of Fire.
Yes, yeah.
It might be that. I'm not sure. I'm sure somebody out there will put it right. But so am I going to be allowed to come and see some of this? We saw some on the night. Are we able to go and have a little peep at some of the stuff that wasn't on view on that evening?
As it stands at the moment, the Richard Tandy Production Suite is a teaching room, so it's really by appointment only if somebody wants to look at that. The longer term plan would be to have some kind of permanent exhibit space in the public area at the conservatoire, perhaps a small space where we can rotate items, because obviously we need to look after delicate bits of paper and things like that. But it would be nice to have a dedicated space in the public area that can showcase some of the artifacts that we do have.
Yeah, because I managed to see some of it was on display on the night of the concert. There was some of Richard's clothing was there, and he was showing a video of him wearing that actual jacket. I think there were 2 jackets on on display.
Yeah. There was there was one from a very early ELO when Roy was still with them, a Granada TV special.
Yeah.
Where Richard was wearing this floral jacket, looked like made out of a pair of curtains or something, with bright yellow trousers, and we'd got that outfit, and so we was able to display that next to the TV screen with some footage of that. And then there's the one, the red velvet suit. That we see a lot of videos of Richard playing around 1974-ish kind of time.
Yeah.
So that was nice. And yeah, we've got there's tour t-shirts, the Time tour jackets and sweatshirts and t-shirts.
Balance of Power shell suit.
Balance of Power shell suit,
Yes, we have it.
So you can see the fashion changes from the very flared velvet trousers to shell suit materials of the mid-80s. Yeah.
So Richard's wife must have had all this at home.
Yeah, it was in a suitcase that I think it must have been a touring suitcase. So the suitcase itself is actually quite a vintage thing, and it was just full of all old stage clothes.
Yeah, and there's keyboards and guitars on display as well in the production suite.
Yeah.
So she must have had a complete room full, I would have thought.
There was a room, with all his studio equipment in, and it was just a matter of going through. And as I say, there was boxes and boxes of folders of memorabilia that was, as you kind of delved into it more. I mean, for a while I was looking through all these bits of paper and I could recognise, Sweet is the Night and Turn to Stone, chord charts and things like that. I was thinking, where's Mr. Blue Sky? I can't find anything with Mr. Blue Sky on it. Oh, that would be really great. And then eventually, when I was talking to Peter about it, it's like, well, they had working titles, and we found out what the working title was. It's like, well, we have got it. We've got a couple of notes.
And Mr. Blue Sky's working title was originally Thou Shalt Not. And so we've got the original notes that Richard made for that from the sessions.
Yeah, and Louis Clark's son has got some of the scores as well.
He has, yeah. He's worked with us again for the concert in helping, and he conducted on the night, did a fantastic job of conducting.
I'm just trying to think what the working title of Sweet Talking Woman was. Was it Dead End Street?
It could have been, yes. We could consult the notes next door.
Yeah, we'd have to. Well, it's fascinating, and I was going to ask, were you actually involved in bringing everything over from Sheila's house?
Oh yeah, it was hiring a van and loading it up and bringing it over. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's a brave thing for her to do, because in one way I would have thought, would it have been upsetting for her, or was she?
I think I don't know. Maybe it was therapeutic.
Well, she knew it was going to a good home anyway.
I think that was the nice thing about it. I think that it was coming to somewhere that was going to appreciate, and I certainly. I'm an ELO fan, but I'm also quite respectful of what it is that we've inherited here, and it's you don't want to kind of come across as like a fanboy with it all, but I much like Peter in a way, although I'm not doing a PhD in it, I respect the history, and I think it's important. Where else in Birmingham should this stuff be looked after? And if it's not the premier school of music in town, in the city, it seemed the obvious choice, really, the Birmingham Conservatoire, Royal Birmingham Conservatoire as it is.
With its connections to ELO, through Jeff as an honorary doctorate, and Bill and Mike having been here, and Louis Jr.
Yeah, well, I'm glad we're keeping the Birmingham music scene on the map, because, you've got the London scene and the Liverpool scene, the Manchester scene. Maybe like yourself, I'm a big fan of the Birmingham music scene and all the related branches before, and what turned into ELO, who became one of the biggest bands in the world, basically, didn't they?
Yeah, and you see, other cities do it so well with their musical histories.
Yeah.
Birmingham, it doesn't appear to me that it does it very well, and when it does do it, it's all about Black Sabbath, and it's all rightfully so. The biggest band in the world to come out of Birmingham. But ELO doesn't get the same recognition that it deserves. And I think it's important that we do play a part in kind of shouting about ELO.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to go and have a little look at the production suite, if that's okay. If I can take my camera with me, can you show me around?
Yeah, we'll go and have a look.
Thanks a lot for the chat.
No problem.
And good luck with your PhD.
Thank you very much.
And I look forward to seeing the finished result.
I will send you a personal copy, Martin.
Signed.
Signed.
And thanks very much, Matt, for everything you're doing here and keeping the music alive here in Birmingham.
Yeah, and I just say watch this space for more news on things to do with ELO and the archive.
Yeah, there's more to come, I believe.
Yeah. Definitely.
So it hasn't it doesn't end here.
Doesn't end here.
Yeah.
No.
Let's go and have a look then.
Okay.
The Richard Tandy production suite here at the Birmingham Conservatoire. Here's Matt that we just spoke to, and Peter's over here. Let's have a look and see what we've got then, with various photos there. Now we've got a plaque there, Richard Tandy Production Suite, opened 7th of July 2025. Tell me about that, Matt, because Jeff wasn't well enough to actually attend, was he?
No, unfortunately. We had discussed it with Jeff's management, and they'd agreed that Jeff, they'd asked him, and Jeff said he'd love to come and open it. Obviously, very special relationship with Jeff and Richard, so he said he would like to come. And he was doing his tour, the last few nights of his tour in the UK, and he did his 2 nights at Birmingham, but then the following morning when he was due to come on the 7th of July, his tour manager phoned me up and said, unfortunately, after that second show in Birmingham, Jeff was very, very tired. They needed to get him up to Manchester as soon as possible and settle him into the hotel up there. So it was really down to Sheila, who came, and Dave Scott Morgan, Martin Smith, who was bass player in ELO in the 80s. They came and did the unveiling for us. So yeah, it was still a pleasure to have Sheila come and see our little exhibition and unveil the plaque.
Did you get to see any of the Jeff Lynne's ELO gigs towards the end?
I did go on the 6th of July. I went to see that second Birmingham show, and actually it seemed okay that night. Obviously Jeff had broken his hand and weren't playing guitar, but it seemed to be okay. So I was fairly close to the front as well, and I was watching him. And I thought, oh great, I'm going to see you tomorrow, and it never happened, unfortunately.
But he was obviously aware of all this going on. And
he was definitely aware of it all, yeah. I'd been keeping his management in touch with them all the way through, really, right from the point that we'd acquired the archive and the plans going forward for this room and the concert that was happening in November. So they knew about all of that all along.
All right, so we've got some photos on display here. The Chantels. What do you know about the Chantels, Peter? Anything you can tell me that I don't know?
The Chantels was one of Richard's early bands. We can see Richard there in the middle. And the lineup at the time was John Fincham on the bass, Tim Bellamy on the drums, and Tony Allen on the saxophone, and then of course Richard on the guitar. And he also played harmonica. And of course one of the harmonicas is in the Richard Tandy archive here at the Birmingham Conservatoire.
I put you on the spot there. You passed that test. There we got Richard there on one of his many keyboards. So what is this white bit of equipment on the top there?
So that is the Roland MC500 Micro Composer. It was a MIDI sequencer working with storing data on floppy disk. And basically I think you were typing in like a typewriter how to actually program patterns into beats and bars and things. So it was a very early MIDI controller really for controlling your keyboards.
And you've got that in here, haven't you? We'll have a look at that in a minute. There's Richard and Dave there. Oh, there's the thing, I think that's the album artwork for Earthrise, and I forgot to mention actually the Earthrise concert that I came to see back in 2019.
2019, yeah.
And there's Richard. He did come up on stage, but he didn't actually play on the night.
No, but he did take a bow on stage because he'd obviously worked very closely with Dave on that project, the Earthrise. And we're still involved in some of the pre-production side of things. So our students had orchestrated some of the arrangements, and Richard was kind of a background consultant during that time.
Yeah, it was a very enjoyable evening. I managed to have a few words with Richard as well, which was very nice. Now it looks like we've got some of Richard's own handwriting here. Peter, is there anything in there you can tell me about?
Yes. So these are some of the scans from Richard's notebooks, some really interesting ones. We've got chord charts, we've got sketches for stage layouts on there. One of my favourites is on this board actually. It's the video idea when they're writing suggestions for the videos, and Richard writes, "Don't do one," as his suggestion. And I think that's fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, it's lovely to be able to see these. I do appreciate you showing them to me. That's a nice shot of not the original band, but soon after Roy Wood left. You've got Mike D'Albuquerque there on the right hand side, who kind of replaced Roy. Richard there next to him, Jeff in the middle, who looks like one of those ELO yellow vests. Mike Edwards, of course, Bev, and Wilf Gibson there on the left. It's fascinating to see some of these things that Richard was obviously quite well organised. I think, writing all this down and keeping everything as well. I mean, you've got a diary as well, which we'll have a quick look at in just a few moments.
It was also interesting to see we've got a couple of items where they're actually sketching album cover ideas, and we can kind of look at that and see it could be New World Record kind of sketching idea.
And that's Richard doing that, is it?
Richard's sketches,
yeah. Maybe just showing Jeff a few ideas of what he might have. Richard and Dave again, they were very close, weren't they? Worked together on quite a few.
Yeah, they worked together a lot.
Yeah, I recognise that living room of Dave's.
Mm-hmm.
So what's with all the album covers and the QR codes?
Well, we made those for the exhibition that was outside in the foyer area for the concert, and we wanted to really encourage people, if they wanted to explore the music of ELO, if they weren't aware of anything else, they could scan a QR code and it would link them to a Spotify version of the album. So as we were displaying all these items, we couldn't really have music playing in the background because it was a public area, but people could do that.
And we got family tree here. Oh, that's a Richard Tandy's story. So what's the story behind this photo here then?
So this photo here, all throughout ELO there's a theme of football, and that goes through even from the early days of the Move and the Idle Race. There are various competitions and games that they play. Even on the world tours they would sometimes play football in the stadiums before the concerts against the road crew and the band.
And they seem to like tennis as well, didn't they?
Yes.
We've got those photographs of them meeting Bjorn Borg and Jimmy Connors.
Yes.
And we've got a tablecloth with Jimmy Connors' contact details on, handwritten by Jimmy Connors himself.
And we got an early one of Richard there.
And that's in the back of Dave Scott Morgan's Mini.
Oh, right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I might have seen that picture before. I wonder if Dave might have included that in one of his books. I'm not sure. So we've got more sleeve notes here. What are these photos of? Looks like some sort of press conference or a TV show, maybe.
Yeah, so that's when they were being given their Australian award, which we have on the wall as well. And next to that, we've got different running orders for Out of the Blue, where they were trying out which songs to put on side 1 or side 2, and we can even see in Richard's diary it's talking about entropy, down to earth, out of this world, out of the blue, out of the loo. So they're coming up with titles, and you can see the thinking behind the album title.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like Richard was more involved in that side of things than I realised, to be honest with you.
That's what's revealing about the archive, is we do see, you know, whether their notes were written in a studio when they're kind of discussing things together, or whether he's in a hotel room and just playing around with ideas, and yeah.
Nice poster there to Richard. Thanks, mate. Jeff, they were good mates, weren't they?
Yeah.
And then let's have a look. We've got a selection of gold and silver discs. Have you got any particular favourites of these, Pete?
Oh, it's got to be the Out of the Blue, right in the middle of the platinum one, right in front.
Would you say that was their most famous album? I suppose it is, really.
I'd say it's probably their most well-known and famous album, of course, containing the hit Mr. Blue Sky on there. But there's also some brilliant other albums dotted around. We've got the Face the Music one that's mixed in at the top, right in the middle there, which of course was what we aimed for the concert that we had back in November, celebrating the anniversary.
And one of my favourites, we've got Time. It was probably my second favourite album.
Yeah, you forget how successful that was.
Yeah.
There we go, there. And even Xanadu. Have either of you two seen the film?
I have, yes.
What was your view of it?
I quite liked it, actually. I thought it was a nice, harmless film.
Yeah, the album had one side of ELO and the other side were just a mixture of the other artists, weren't they? I can't remember who else was on the other side.
Written by John Farrar on the other
Yeah,
side.
oh yeah, yeah.
He was a great composer himself, isn't he? For Greece and
yes, yeah.
Like some great songs.
Worked with the Shadows.
So did either of you go to the Hyde Park gig in 2014? When have you?
No, I didn't go to the Hyde Park.
No.
I wasn't at the Hyde Park gig either. I was hoping to be at the Hyde Park gig in 2025, but unfortunately it was cancelled.
Let's just go over to Peter here. He's going to say that again because that must have been so disappointing for you.
It was really disappointing.
Yeah.
I had tickets, but I went down on the day and met loads of the ELO fans in Hyde Park.
Right.
We had some great conversations. It was a really great atmosphere. People came from all over the world, no pun intended there. There was Spanish fans, German fans, French fans, and it was a real community there on Hyde Park that day, even though the concert had been cancelled.
Yeah, how many days' notice did you get of the cancellation? I can't remember.
It was only two, I think. Or was it the morning of? It might have been the morning of, yeah.
Yeah, because Jeff ended up doing some gigs before Hyde Park. I think when it was first announced, I think that was just going to be the only gig.
It was, yes. It
from
was
what I
going to be the only
remember.
one in this country. They'd done a tour in America beforehand, but it was only going to be Hyde Park in England. And then he announced 2 Birmingham shows and 2 Manchester shows.
Yeah, and I kind of wish, in a way, if they would have stuck with the Hyde Park gig, I think Jeff would have been one enough to have performed, but there we go, that's fantastic. We've got some keyboards here. What are the story behind these? Do you have any idea what these were used on?
Well, these they date from the mid-80s, some like 1985, so they wouldn't have been part of the ELO pedigree. They would have been more of Richard's kind of work with Dave Scott Morgan and that kind of that period of work, and when Richard was working with other people as a session player.
Oh right, so they maybe haven't travelled as far as some of the others.
No, perhaps not. No, but there's still important archive pieces from a music technology point of view. That kind of middle period of FM, middle 80s period of FM synthesis.
Have you ever been tempted to have a little tinkle on the ivories yourself, Matt?
Well, I did at least plug these in to try them, and then when we realised they perhaps needed a little bit of TLC, we did get somebody to repair and clean them as well. So I will use a keyboard, but I can't really play one.
Right. Now this seems to look familiar to me. Peter, have you got any history on this one?
Yes, so this is Richard's Mini Moog, and this you can see in many videos with Richard playing it, usually in the red velvet suit that is also in the archive. It's heard on Daybreaker, and you can see the video of Richard playing the opening as he starts the song off, and that's on this actual Mini Moog that we have here. We also have a booklet with all Richard's notes of what settings he wanted for each song. Sometimes these changed live, and sometimes they were the same in the studio, and all of those are detailed alongside the actual manual that came with the Moog originally, and that tells you how to work it from scratch.
And this was used in the Richard Tandy tribute concert as well for a few pieces, particularly in polka.
Oh, was it?
So that very fast lick that introduces polka. Martin, our keyboard player for that event, was using this very keyboard for that.
It was great. I must say it was great to hear that on the night.
Mm.
That's a lovely looking piece of equipment, isn't it? What's this sitting over here in the window?
That's more modern. That is, that just belongs to us. That wasn't Richard's.
Moving over here, let's have a look. It's like some sort of, is this like a drum machine? Was this Richard's as well?
Yeah, that was Richard's drum machine. That's also in that same picture with the MC500. The Yamaha NS10s, which are kind of for those studio producers in the know, recognise Yamaha NS10s as a very popular studio monitor and speaker.
Now this looks like what we saw in a photo a few minutes ago. Just explain to me what this is.
So this is the sequencer, which stores data on one of these old floppy disks.
What does it say on there?
Safety.
Safety.
43D.
Have you tried to play that yet?
I don't think there's anything on it particularly, but we have tested it. Dave Scott Morgan used to own one as well, and so he kind of vaguely remembers how to edit and work with it. So yeah, this is a sequencer before we got into the things of Pro Tools and Logic Pro and everything. Yeah, that was the way that things were sequenced. And under there we actually have a fairly new electric piano, which was, I believe, a gift to Richard when they returned to touring in 2015. So the record company or the touring company gifted Richard this keyboard to use as his stage piano.
It looks in very good, clean condition. Yeah, so that there is what we looked at in a photo over here.
Yep. And there next to it we've got the drum machine.
Oh, that's
well.
the drum machine there, yeah. Oh, it's a great picture, isn't it? Would that be in Richard's home studio, do you think?
Yeah, I think that was when they lived in Wales.
Yeah. So what have we got over here then? It's
that was a gift from Richard to Trevor East, a friend of his, and Trevor had this sat in his garage all wrapped up for a long time, and I contacted Trevor, I think he's pictured here, to let him know about the concert, because I knew they were friends. And although he couldn't make the concert in the end, he did generously offer to donate this to the Conservatoire as part of the archive collection. So we have a tour jacket from 1978, a paperweight, and signed by the whole band on the bare bottom.
Well, I was going to say, is that a bottom, or is that? I thought that might be a neck there, and that was somebody's back. But I think it goes down a bit further than there.
Not sure whose bottom it is. But,
no, maybe it's best if we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have thought it was any of the band members anyway.
Mm-hmm. But it's also the only place we have a autograph from Hugh McDowell. So,
okay. I was lucky enough to meet Hugh a few times, so I have got a few things signed.
Mm.
Yeah, so that's nice of. What was the guy's name again? Yes, it's in here, isn't it?
Yeah, Trevor East.
Trevor East, yeah. So he's donated that to the foundation. That's fantastic, guys. Thanks ever so much for showing us around. I feel very privileged to be able to come in and have a look around. And you've still got more that you haven't gone through and put out on display.
There's more that we did display outside the concert night, and we're looking now, like I said earlier, we're looking at what we might be able to put out as a semi-permanent display in the public area, and other items that we will just need to kind of protect long term. We'll need to. The university does have a proper archive storage area that's kind of temperature and humidity controlled. We've got archivists who understand the specialist nature of looking after these things. So we'll be consulting with them for future preservation.
And Peter, this is going to be so useful to you. Well, it has been already, hasn't it? You've still got more to do.
There is more to do. So already I've used lots of the archive, and me and Matt have looked together at various things, and we've learned quite a lot by just looking through this. Even the instruments themselves can tell us so much about Richard and the way things worked and the industry and the photos, and they've been a real insight to go alongside the music. And I think you have a better appreciation when you listen to the music, when you've seen the work in progress and you've seen how they've sketched out a song, how they've written a chord change, how maybe they've decided to record this a little bit differently. You then listen to the music and you hear it, and it really sings.
It's the influences, isn't it? They're like the little side notes, Chopin bit here, or a Beethoven bit here, and they're referencing classical composers. And although it's not kind of written down in any score, you can see their thinking, or it might be a child's nursery rhyme that they kind of just put a little note on the paper, and it makes you get into the mind. Okay, so that's what they're trying to think melodically. They're trying to reference those bits and pieces.
We've got a couple of guitars down there that I didn't have a good look at. These were obviously Richard's as well.
Yeah, these were just kicking around Richard's home. So classical guitar, which I think is probably a late 70s model, that Suzuki classical guitar, and then it's just a 6-string acoustic.
And even an old amp down there with Richard's name on it.
Yeah. I think that amp was something he carried around with him. I've got pictures of it being used in the Trevor Burton band when Richard was with them in the
I remember coming to see them, and Richard was just in a pub somewhere.
Yeah.
Can't remember exactly where it was now. Well, listen, guys, thanks very much, and good luck for the future with your PhD, Peter, and for the exhibition here.
Thank you.
Thanks for letting me have a look round.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.